there's more signboards gracing our streets. There seems to be a lot more properties that are hitting the market. I know I've talked recently about walking the dog. Have I told you about how I went viral with that bad boy?
With the dog?
With the little...
with the signed dog story?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Really?
And I'm like, over the weekend, over on the Instagram, I kept getting like these, like, the Property Pod got this new like. The Property Pod got this new like. We've almost had... This is embarrassing. We've almost had more views on this 30-second video of me talking about walking the dog and looking at signboard than the history of the 150 episodes of the Property Pod. All amalgamated together. Just this me talking about my dog. I cannot comprehend it.
Going once, going twice, sold. You're listening to the Property Pod.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Property Pod, your weekly engagement into real estate here in the Hobart Marketplace. I'm your host, Aaron Horn, and it gives me great pleasure to be joined by superstars of real estate here in Hobart. I've got it first time, baby.
Every time.
You are an absolute natural.
Sometimes I'm lying in bed and it's just rolling through my head as I'm going through. I'm like, get it right this week.
Today's
going
going
to
be a good day.
Today's the day. So, to complete the introduction, John McGregor sitting over this side of the desk. How are you, my friend?
Mate, feeling great.
Looking
Feeling
sharp.
good.
Looking sharp, got to say.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, nice tweedy. Give us a rundown on that jacket just before we go any further.
This was one that I needed. I've got my big winter jackets that I bought from Scotland, which are nice, but I didn't have anything for summer. So last year I was like, well, I'm going to need a couple of linen jackets. This one's a bit of a mix, but wanted something with a bit of personality.
And you've definitely nailed that.
I found it.
You've definitely nailed that.
Me and Sam, all right, we're just having a discussion around about how hard it is to find jackets with personality in Hobart.
Well,
How do you interview a jacket with personality, John?
I don't know, but it makes it sound cooler than it is, I suppose.
the funny bit is the only reason I bring up your jacket is I'm sitting here setting up the studio. I'm hearing you guys having this in-depth jacket conversation. I'm like, what are we doing talking property on this podcast? Let's talk jackets.
Oh man, it's nice to have a kindred spirit in the office. Because then Aaron Murray walks through the door and Sam goes, "Mate, that's a nice jacket." And see, the first thing that Aaron thinks was, "Yeah, it was on sale." It's
Got it at Oxford for $29.
Yep, a guy close to my heart.
Yeah.
Well, on the polar opposite of that, someone who isn't wearing a jacket, and you quite regularly find him wearing a T-shirt and a cap, we've got the director of 414 Property Co, Patricia Berry.
I'm here.
You're here. You're
ready
looking
to talk.
sharp. You're ready to rock and roll. We actually sat down and discussed what we're going to talk about yesterday, which is
I want
rare.
to point out I wore one of my newer 414 shirts because it would be blackout and I knew that you'd be filming today.
I've got one for you, Sarah. If I put on the white one that's got the 414, she's like, "Oh, you're recording the podcast today." I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, "Oh, I know, like the days that you're recording because you try and look a bit better."
Today.
Yeah. So as a plan, I was like, "No, I'm going to throw you off the course." All right, boys. Jumping into the real estate side of things, which we were meant to talk about, but look, jackets could be the topic of conversation for the rest of the day.
It's all about setting yourself up for sale, isn't it? Like
Setting for success, is it, John?
Dressing yourself for success.
Well,
as
look,
you need to with your property.
It's not so far off some of the things I was hoping to talk about today. So what we were thinking of going into is how to achieve a successful sale in the current market. So dressing your property for success is something that could come up in that discussion. So not a bad segue. Thank you, my friend.
Well, I think the best one is you were there yesterday at the property at Claremont. Our client, his work is absolute, took us off to get this place completely immaculate. And interestingly enough, he was the apprentice of the property we sold at 31 Dowsing Avenue, which was that little cottage.
That old place.
That was every blade of grass was just perfect.
Yep.
Because he knew that, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to go all out. And just so happens that the owner of the one at Claremont was his apprentice. He watched that process and how successful it was, and he's just done that exact same thing.
So here's one thing I'm going to throw at you. Before leaving the property, like I've taken all the photos, it's shift styled, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
I've left and I've started taking a photo outside. I'm like, hold on a sec, is this a new build? And then I'm like, no, I know, I was inside. But from the outside with the render and like everything that's been done outside, it almost convinced me that it was a brand new home.
Yep.
Got inside, it was amazingly renovated. But
And so, fortunate enough, he's because of his skills, he's able to go to the next level. Of course, not all of us have that capacity, and that was the discussion we had with him. He brought us in about halfway through this stuff, but because he watched that experience with his, previously, he went, right. We're going to be moving into state, so I'm going to start this process now of getting the property dressed because we know that it makes a difference. And when he asked us, look, what, should we go to this extent? And I said, well, if you can, he's saving himself at least 50% of the cost realistically, if you were to try and employ someone professionally. And I said to Kane, look, mate, we can't control the market of what's happening externally, but you can absolutely control the presentation of this property. And so you've come this far, don't stop.
Yeah, no, look, it's a testament to him and all the hard work he's done. I'm really interested to see how it'll go on the market as it is. I guess what we were hoping to talk about today is kind of the way the market's corrected itself, and it seems to be settling into a bit of a state at the moment, it feels like.
A balanced market.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So, I thought, there's more signboards gracing our streets. There seems to be a lot more properties that are hitting the market. I know I've talked recently about walking the dog. Have I told you about how I went viral with that bad boy?
With the dog?
With the little...
with the signed dog story?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Really?
And over the weekend, over on the Instagram, I kept getting these, the Property Pod got this new like. The Property Pod got this new like. We've almost had... This is embarrassing. We've almost had more views on this 30-second video of me talking about walking the dog and looking at signboard than the history of the 150 episodes of the Property Pod. All amalgamated together. Just this me talking about my dog. I cannot comprehend it.
That's the problem. Dogs and cats sell, don't they? People are more interested in talking about their animals, let's face it.
Well, what am I doing photoshopping furniture into houses? Let's just Photoshop dogs and cats in the place. This is ridiculous. It's crazy. I can't comprehend it. I didn't do anything different. I just posted it up and it just seems to keep...
All right, maybe the thing is that we do need one little flag every episode when we reference pets, and that's there's a segue with pets.
Yeah, we're not SEOing, we're like doggy-oing. We got this.
Doggy-os.
Sorry, off topic. But so what I thought we could jump into trying to talk about was there's lots more properties hitting the market. That kind of lack of property being on the market, the fear of missing out seems to have moved aside for the moment, could correct itself back into that. But even trawling through kind of a bunch of the realestate.com, there's heaps of listings out there. Yeah. So how can we set up our vendors to achieve success in selling their property? We kind of went through a few little dot points yesterday discussing it, Pat. I thought you could talk to some of those.
So what I was thinking, John, what we could look at, just blindsiding you here, is sort of before, during and at contract stage. So before you go to market, which I guess is what you've just been describing with this new listing that you've got.
Yep.
What we do when we're at the listing stage and talking to the vendor about getting it ready to put onto the market.
Sure.
And then what a vendor should look for when we start to bring them contracts to know, is this contract going to go anywhere?
Yeah.
Or is it just a waste of time contract?
Don't worry, he's not blindsided. I emailed him the information. He just didn't print it out this week. He thought he wanted to save the environment.
Yeah. Well, it's not even brought up.
No, don't.
He's got a screen. No, that's great because, one of the things that's been interesting in our business, because we've got quite a few agents that have only started within the last couple of years, they're not used to what the kind of conversations we actually have to have.
Yeah.
So we can really phrase this in the conversations we're having with our clients.
Yeah.
So I suppose I'll start us off then. The first one that people are asking is, what is the market doing? And I think the way that you both phrased it is that the fear of missing out has gone.
Yep.
So the way that, and we're returning to a balanced market. So how I would extend that conversation is to say, well, look, boys, so people aren't buying for the sake of buying because they feel they have to buy. So people are now just buying because their life compels them to do so, whether or not they've had a new baby or they're downsizing, etc. So we're just seeing that natural ebb and flow of a market rather than that surge of surprising demand because people feel they should be buying.
Yep.
So what that means then is, yes, there's less buyer activity, and that will translate to more choice as people will naturally come onto the market, vice versa. So we also have to, because now the latest quarter results have come out through the different REIT Institute, RP Data, and a whole different bunch of sources. There's a couple of really key indicators. We referenced them before. The investor activity is reduced by 28% year on year.
Yep.
Same with the actual transaction of property. So there's not as many houses selling. Now, that absolutely has a bearing on what now the prices are doing. And so where before we were able to list a property 18 months ago and you'd say, great, let's just have a crack and we're probably going to get 10 offers and it's going to blow your expectations out of the water, that is no longer the case. So the conversation we have with our clients at the moment is to talk about commitment. So it's like, look, this is not the market to sit there and test a price. if you're sitting there, if it goes against the trend, the numbers and the comparable sales, and you still just want to have a crack and expect you're going to get a phenomenal result, the percentage chance of that happening is very, very, very small. So we have to ask, well, look, in the sake of saving you marketing dollars and the sake of saving you time, and obviously we don't want to sit there and spend a heck of a lot of investment and time on a property that isn't going to sell, how committed are you to moving? And it's really about knowing that, okay, in this market, if you need to adjust your expectations, and if you've doubled your property value and then now rather than getting 100%, you're getting 90 or 80%, still a win.
It's still a win, yeah.
You know?
It's just hard to taste when you've had all these success in the past, or people seeing all this success and thinking, oh man, I can hit that.
Yeah.
Market's changed. That's not what we're saying now.
Yeah, exactly. And so at this phase one part, it's really to me, what I'm looking for is where's your level of commitment? If you don't want it bad enough, you don't need to do it, it just might be nice. Chances are it's probably not going to happen for you.
So in this kind of pre-list stage, I guess one key thing to focus here is kind of getting the price right, or discussing it with your agent, kind of not coming in and then appraising the place at saying, I reckon we can get 500 for this. And then a week and a half later, once you're ready to hit the market, like, I'm going to go with 520 now, guys. I've changed my mind. I want to do this. It's like you're almost setting yourself up to fail.
Yeah, very much so.
Yep.
You're almost setting yourself up to get a lot less, because by the time you agree to meet the market already thinks that you're unrealistic.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so Aaron has a really good graph that one of our other sales consultants that he uses.
I got good graphs too, baby.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
come and have a look at my graphs. Come check out my graphs, baby.
where he almost has like a three-stage graph where it's like, if you price your property 10% above what market thinks it's worth, it's probably going to result in no inquiries, no showings, no offers. If you're 5 to 10% above, it's probably going to result in showings and inquiries, but no offers. So in this market, you've got to get it priced correctly so that you can get the showings, the offers, and then one that is acceptable to the actual property.
Yep.
So, yeah, pricing it, what doesn't seem like much, 5 or 10%, could be the difference between you selling and not selling. So using the data that we have access to and really looking at, who are your comparable properties that you're going to be fighting against on the Saturday open homes? What are they priced at compared to yours? How do you make yours the better option in this marketplace? That's what you need to start thinking about and looking at.
And that extends then with the presentation, because the idea, it's going to be renovated as delight. They aren't attractive properties when people are expecting the median prices to adjust backwards, and the time frame to renovate, the cost to renovate, etc., have all increased since they were a couple of years ago, 12 months ago. So that's the thing, where the properties we would say are winning at the moment are the ones that are completely done for you, or those that are priced most competitively. And it's the middle ground where you've people, that of properties that are really struggling at the moment, because people are just like, well, stuff that I don't want to buy a half finished product. I'd rather get one at a good deal, or I just want one completely done. So that's where that price sensitivity comes in, in line with your presentation.
Yeah. So this is the 1%ers, the small little things that can make a huge difference at the other side of the deal. So kind of people. Well, I guess moving from pre-list, we've kind of talked about setting up the property and making sure it's right, and then pricing it right. Which I guess in our little document here, I've said choosing the right agent, but I guess that's moving into the. Sorry,
choosing the right agent's correct, but it's choosing the agent that's going to have the hard conversation with you and the honest conversation with you, not the one that just agrees with you.
Yeah.
You sit down with the agent and you tell the agent, I want $600,000. And inside they're like, yep, no problem at all. We'll get you that. But all their data suggests 520 is where it's at. They need to be telling you that up front.
And this was one thing that we're doing trading that Susie's going to have a chat about with the team as well, is if you want to know what it means to be a real estate agent, this is the market where this is what your job means, because this is where you've got to work really hard to be able to get deals to come together. That means too subject to sales. That means, we were having one conversation with the purchaser about, how about we get you a new vanity that'll fit in a little bit more. We'll get these PowerPoints moved around and we can adjust this and adjust that for you, so that now this property is going to fit to your needs a bit more. Because instantly they're just like, no, it doesn't work. This doesn't work. We're going to go away. It's like, whoa. We can actually, make this work for you.
Yep.
Don't run away too quickly. And the thing is, one-on-one negotiations are very, very different than 5 people make a Dutch offer, as they would say. No one knows what everyone else has got, and you look like a superstar.
Yeah.
It's a very different environment to even negotiate in.
Yeah, my favourite example of talking to purchasers and finding out their needs and wants is probably one of your old man stories. You've talked about it multiple times on the podcast, but for the new listeners, he had a home. He wasn't able to sell it. The living space was too small. The dining space was too large. And all he suggested was to the owner was to flip the 2 rooms around.
Yep.
Because all the feedback was the lounge room's too small. But it never dawned on anyone prior to that to consider changing the room configuration.
Yes,
And
and
that was the difference between it selling and not selling. So
Yeah.
it's finding solutions to people's problems is how we
Yeah.
get properties moved in this market.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, the other thing that I think we need to work closely with is work with an agent that is working with a lot of buyers. Like Aaron Murray at the moment in our office, he's got an amazing buyer database and he's kicking goals like no tomorrow because he works those buyers really hard.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of buyers that say, I want to live in Glenorchy, and then they end up buying an old beach.
That's right.
So it's about understanding when their expectations is shifting and being ready to move with opportunities for them into those other areas is how we can make things happen.
And how often we've all done it where it's just because one of our mates or we've just like, just try it, just give it a go.
no, I don't want to have that stout,
just,
John.
Just try, just maybe 2 more stouts, maybe
No.
along with a shot. Just put it in the stout.
Pat's like as if
One
you
hell of
wouldn't.
a party.
Yeah, Pat's like as if you wouldn't be having a stout, baby.
And that's another interesting point because again, the one that we just had sold was one up at Canara Crescent in Chigwell, which is obviously where our old family home was. And how I introduced a buyer to that street was they had just sold a big family home up at Lindisfarne, and they said, I would never live in Chigwell. It's the Berriedale side of Chigwell, so it's a bit different. And I said, look, just do me a favour.
It's the Berriedale side.
Technically, it ticks all your boxes. So drive up, and when they did, they're completely surprised because it's not what they visualised in their mind it would be at all.
Yeah.
We took them through and they bought it. And with the other one that we've had across the road, same challenge because it's just got the wrong suburb name in that price bracket. But this is a good one about the owners have to really adjusting their expectations. And, Aaron's starting to experience what that feels like to have these conversations that, look, we don't want to have, but we need to have.
Because that's the only way we're going to get to contracts.
That's it. And the conversation I had with our client was, look, let us at least position the property for me to present an offer that you can say no to. Because we're at the...
Oh, I like that line, John.
Yeah.
They needed 800 and they'd purchased, made a contract on another property we had, but it was... So in order for them to reach for that, they had to reach for theirs against, we said, well, this is probably not going to happen. They wanted to try it. It didn't pan out. So I had to say, well, look, after a long back and forth, he said, what do you think it's going to sell for, John? I said, look, mate, we're going to have to really look at it. If we can get a contract with a number 7 in front of it, we've got to take it. And that was for me just sitting there. You were basically going to have to adjust your purchasing power by $100,000 in one conversation. And fortunate enough, they just sat on it for a long time and listened, adjusted the asking price to $690. A buyer that Aaron had inquired on that property at the very first day, he was able to call them back and say, good news, for you, the property's adjusted. Instantly, they made a contract and now we're under contract for over, a bit over 700,000. So fortunate enough, they still had the number one thing, which was commitment. They did a lot of the stuff to the property as best as they could, and then they were prepared to meet the market by having a price correction in that sense, or price improvement, and we're able to get them moving forward.
Well, again, that kind of goes back to the graph we were talking about before, like early on, of kind of positioning the price correctly on the market, like.
Which, for clarification, both Aaron's 2 really good graphs.
You should see my graph game. It's strong. Yeah. Plotting an A and then getting to X and just bring it around. And then I also like those pi ones. I love me some graphs.
Yeah.
Look, I wanted to get to the contract stage. John actually gave me a good segue, but then I wanted to flip back into the other way. I thought talking about the contract stage is an interesting idea with the, changing the expectation and price in that stage.
Yeah.
We kind of were talking about, like, at the moment, there might be offers coming in and they might not be your $100,000 over what you're expecting before. So it's choosing the right contract, I guess, at the moment. Like things like LVR come into it, strong deposits. Can we kind of talk to
what makes a good contract?
What makes a good contract from a vendor's point of view in the current space? Because it's not like I can pick and choose from a bunch of them, but
Well, that could be depend on, to begin with, how long it's been on market for.
Yeah.
Like, if it's been on market for a couple of months, any contract is a good contract. Let's work with them and see what we can do.
One that's on paper.
But I think if you were receiving offers in the early stages of a campaign, which, you know, still can happen in this marketplace, especially with well-presented homes, and you've had a couple of properties recently where that has happened quite well. I think Parliament Street was a good example of that. I think if I was the vendor, I'd be probably looking at, if it was subject to finance, how much are they borrowing?
Yep.
I know that interest rates are getting harder. I know that borrowing capacities are getting tougher. I'd want to know that they've got a bit of money behind them to be able to secure it. If
absolutely.
they're looking to borrow 95% of the purchase price, then I'm starting to worry, is the valuer going to agree with what we sold it for? And are they going to get the money, or am I going to waste 3 weeks?
and could it change in that time? So we've talked
Potentially.
previously about how in 3 weeks' time your whole borrowing capacity
Could
could
have dropped.
Yep.
So we recently had that with one of Aaron's properties where the day of settlement, the bank changed their opinion on a property that had been approved.
Oh, that is
So
rough.
we needed to repivot and fix that finance over the next couple of days. It's still settled, still went through at the same price.
Yeah.
But we are getting roadblocks down the track that we need to work through.
Which again, it
Yeah.
goes to getting the right agent and the ones that will go that extra mile.
So, 80% is where I'd like to see a contract under from a borrowing capacity. So 80% of the purchase price. I'd like to know that my client has got around 20-25% to put towards it.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything less than that, I'm going to hope that it's a cheaper home that, they've got security from. I'd want to explore so I can explain to my client, why are they borrowing 90%? How is this going to come together?
Yep.
Mum and dad have offered to go guarantor, or maybe they're borrowing under the home share scheme with the government, or I need to know what is that extra thing. Because if they think that they can borrow 90-95% without...
It's almost like a Hail Mary early days, and it's like, I'm going to buy this house. And
Yeah.
it's like, you're not going to buy the house.
Exactly. So I don't want to waste 3 weeks of my owner's time with a contract that potentially is not going to go anywhere. So that'd be one thing I'd be looking for.
Well, I know one thing too, where for our same clients that we had to help them buy a property through another agent, and when I said to her, look, it's a subject to sale, which isn't as attractive as it used to be because things can get a little bit tougher. I said, well, look, our subject to sale is different because we already have a contract
On our property.
and with that, then it's actually not subject to finance. It's subject to the Foreign Investment Review Board. So for those who aren't familiar with that, is that if you're not a resident Australian, you need to seek approval from the Foreign Investment Review Board in order for them to allow you to purchase a property. So that also means, though, with the contract on ours, there was no finance required. They were going to be purchasing it with cash, provided that they get approval from the Foreign Investment Review Board. So then to that agent, it was, look, yes, it's a subject to sale, but it's not a subject to sale, subject to finance. It's a different subject too.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, great. So luckily enough, working with other agents too, that's a really useful situation in complicated negotiations because we can translate those conversations better than
You're trying to do it by yourself.
that's right. So for her and her client, she was doing the exact right thing, which is we obviously wanted this deal to come together because admittedly we're probably going to be a little bit above the other interest because it was a subject to sale. But as you described, she is asking the right questions to say, okay,
So she can sell it to her owner
exactly.
because she's got to go justify your contract to the owner.
Yeah.
So there's no harm in, if you get along really well with an agent and you've met them in an open home, but they don't have the house that you want to buy, I'm sure 90% agents in Hobart, if you went back to them and said, hey, I'm looking to buy a property off another competitor, can I have some advice? They would give it to you in a heartbeat
Yeah.
without any questions asked because we're all here to help people.
Yeah, and I really like this. I was chatting with I went to a launch of a friend of ours who just started a new company. And
Give him a shout. Give him a shout.
yeah, so we'll Mark and Sam Lester from Mixed Property.
Yeah.
And I really like the way he said it. He goes, mate, well, look, in the end, we're competitors, we're not enemies. And I think some would take that approach where, like, you'll never speak with anyone. But I love the fact of trying to nurture these relationships with everyone because you never know which one of us we're going to have a chat about getting a deal together for our clients.
Yeah, yeah.
And having those good relationships just makes that process a heck of a lot easier rather than going, oh my God, It's that person.
It's like
We're going to get to call them.
I was driving along with Bass the other day, and the open to view car was driving by. I was like, "Oh, they're enemy." I was like, "No, they're just some other people taking photos, mate."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it actually makes our job easy because we don't have time to take those photos.
That's right. On listings that you were never getting, Bassy, because we didn't list those properties, mate.
I was like, "It's all good, dude. Don't worry."
And
Don't.
it's so true because there's plenty of business for good operators. I think it's those that are just, so with your approach, like it's not even competition.
No.
It's just sweet. They're going about their day. I'm going about mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It's all good. Subject to sales is a really interesting one. I reckon there's probably a whole lot of conversation around motivations and trying to sort that out. We've nailed it. I can't believe we put all this down on paper and we've worked our way through the whole episode, Pat. Well played. I think that's the property pod for this week. Is there anything else we wanted to cover off just before finishing up?
Oh, I'm pretty happy.
Pretty happy with that?
Yeah, I think in the end, it's really about working with people who know what they're doing. Quite simply, because this is this is markets that we cut our teeth on over 10 years ago, and you can definitely working with people of experience matters in these markets.
And if you are working with someone that's newer to the industry, you want to find out who's supporting them
Yeah.
on a weekly basis.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
Don't automatically disregard someone that's brand new in the industry because they have a lot of hunger and a lot of drive, especially in these marketplaces. But make sure that they do have the agency support behind them to help them through those tougher conversations.
Yeah, exactly, and that's how that was a classic example of the clients the story we just talked about.
Well, yeah, I heard you. I listened into your conversation before the podcast. I listened into yours. You were talking to Aaron Murray about kind of, getting
Finance and a pre-approval.
And a brand new business kind of getting up and running, and he's hungry to really kind of make a mark, which is the same Aaron Murray theory of just being like, I drive past here at 7 at night and his car or motorbike's still sitting there.
So, it's important to work with someone that's got experience to get the jobs done in this hard market, but you can also work with someone that's young, energetic and excited to be in the industry because they're going to go that extra mile for you.
Yep.
But ask the extra questions with them at the appraisal. Make sure you understand what it is that they're going to bring to the table and how they're going to fix an awkward situation if it arises.
If this happens, then what?
Yeah.
Or if make sure they've got someone behind them that they can turn to, and the amount of times that Amaz comes out and Paul got one for you.
You just sit next to us. The amount of times he comes out, just give him a desk out there, Aaron.
We'll make some space for him.
You do realise there's 2 seats up from me, so guess who gets 80%?
Look, I like his tenacity. The kid's got spark.
Yeah. So bottom line is just do your research in this marketplace.
Yep.
Make sure you're comfortable with your decision. Really ask questions when you're doing the appraisal with the potential agent that you're going to work with, and know what you're after. And make sure they are aware of that as well, because they may come straight to you and say, I can't meet those expectations, and that's fine. But just know what you're trying to achieve, and make sure you're working with someone that has the same vision.
Yeah, love it.
Love it. Awesome. Cracking episode. Had fun with that one.
Thanks very much, guys.
All right. We'll see you all next week with more Property Pod. Bye. You have been listening to The Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Code.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek then use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information without first seeking qualified and professional advice.